Today we are doing 7th grade math. This is chapter 2, lesson 4. We are talking about the percent equation. So last time we talked about percent proportion. We're going to go ahead and recap percent proportion. Percent proportion is when you have a part, a whole, and you are comparing it to whatever percent over 100. So an example would be, what percent of 5 is 4? 5 is the whole, 4 is the part. In order to solve this, we would set up a percent proportion. Our percent is normally written as n, part is p, whole is w. But again, you can use x or any other variables. And what we would do is cross multiply. 5 times the percent, or 5n, would equal 400. We divided both sides by 5 to isolate the variable. N, or the percentage, would equal 80. Therefore, 4 is 80% of 5. Remember, PPW, part, percentage, then whole. So 4 is 80% of 5. And that's how we would solve our percent proportion for a missing percent. Any other values that are missing, we would, if we're asking what is 80% of 5, we'd use p, and then again 5 times 80, 100p, which we'd get 4 when we solve it. And the same thing can happen for the whole if we have that missing. Today we're talking about percent equation. And when it comes to percent equation, we have ourselves a whole new formula. You've used the percent proportion to find the missing part, p, missing percent, n, or missing whole, w. You can also use a percent equation. The percent equation is part equals percent times whole. Part equals percent times whole. So in this case, if we knew 4 and 5, our part would be 4, our whole would be 5, and we'd use n or x or whatever for our missing percentage. This would bring us to 4 equals 5 times n, and we divide both sides by 5. 4 divided by 5, if we plug it into a calculator, if the calculator would load, there we go. So 4 divided by 5 would give me 0.8. Now, as a decimal, I'd have to jump this twice over so that I can say that it is 80%. That is the big difference here, is that when you divide these, you're going to get a decimal answer, and you're going to want to jump twice to the right. So instead of 0.8, you're going to want to jump 1, 2, and you'll make it 80%. 4 is 80% of 5. So again, our percent equation is part equals percent times whole. Part equals, I'm just writing out the percentage symbol, times whole. Please make sure that this is in your notes. Part equals percent times whole. Because remember, in the last part, we always had one of these 3 missing. Now we're just getting 100 out of the way and making this a little bit more streamlined, if you will. So here is our notes, or here are our notes that need to be in our notebook. The type. So if we find the percent, it is, the example here is 3 is what percent of 6? 3 is the part, 6 is the whole, so part equals percent times whole. 3 equals n times 6, as we're trying to find the percent. The next question, what number is 50% of 6? 6 is the whole, 50 is the percent. We're missing the part. So P will equal 0.5 times 6. And here's something that we need to kind of go over. We definitely need to make the percentage a decimal before we multiply. That's going to be a different part than percent proportion. So 50 will need to become, instead of 50, it'll need to be jumped twice, and it'll become 0.5. And you'll multiply 6 by 0.5. And then over here, find the whole. 3 is 50% of what number? 3 is the part. 50% is the percent. The whole is missing. You can use the percent equation to solve problems that involve percent. 3 is 50% of 6. Part is 3%. We would turn down to a decimal, 0.5. Whole is 6. Now, let's do some examples here, but we're only going to look at the example, not the steps just yet. So what number is 12% of 150? Now, as we've discussed in class, 12 is the percentage. And because it says of 150, what number is 12% of 150? 150 is our whole. So remember, part equals percent times whole. We have our percent in our whole. We have 12% times our whole, which is 150. However, remember, we need to make our percentage a decimal. So this will become 0.12. And the part will be whatever this equals. Clear our calculator. 150 times 0.12. That will give me 18. So the part is 18. So 18, again, part, percent, whole. 18 is 12% of 150. And that would be my answer. All right, let's move on to a few more examples here. And that was our answer. 18 is 12% of 150. And there is a way to check it if you put, back to percent proportion. Would 150 times 12 equal 18 times 100? And it does. They both equal 1800. So, boom. All right, let's go ahead and skip those. Let's do this one. 21 is what percent of 40? Remember, of 40, 40 being our whole, 21 is going to be our part because we don't know what our percentage is. So part equals percent times whole. Our part here is 21 equals our percent, which we say n, times our whole, which is 40. This will become 21 equals 40n. Divide both sides by 40. And when we are done dividing 21 by 40, we will get our answer of 0.525, I believe it was. And remember, to turn this into a percentage, we're going to jump twice to the right. So this will become 52.5%. And our answer will be 21 is 52.5% of 40. Let's see if we're right. We said 20 or 52.5%, 52.5%. 52.5%. And example 3. 13 is 26% of what number? And remember, when you have a number being compared to a percentage, this is the part, the whole is missing. So we have 13. Remember, part equals percentage times the whole. So we have our part of 13. 13 will equal our percentage, which is 26%, times the whole. Again, percentage needs to be turned into a decimal, so this will be 13 equals 0.26 times W, which will become 13 equals 0.26 W. and we're dividing both sides by 0.26. This will be demolished. 13 divided by 0.26 will give me 50. So my whole should equal 50. Therefore, 13 is 26% of 50. And let's see if we got this one right. 13 is 26% of 50, and it is. Let's look at this example. A survey found that 25% of people aged 18 through 24, oh, sorry, my phone just went off, a survey found that 25% of people aged 18 through 24 gave up their home phone, and only use a cell phone. Ah, great timing. If 3,264 people only used a cell phone, how many people were surveyed? So again, we're assuming that they had gone ahead and surveyed just people 18 through 24. And again, 25% of those people only use a cell phone. If 3,264 people only use a cell phone, how many people were surveyed? Therefore, what we're missing here is our whole. 25 will equal 3,264 people. 25% equals that. So, just like they set it up here, 3,264 equals 0.25, because again, we turn our 25% into a decimal by jumping 1, 2 to the left, times W, the amount of people that were surveyed. We don't know what that is. So, let's go ahead and solve that on our whiteboard. So again, our part is 3,264. 3,264 equals 0.25, because it was 25%, times W will be 0.25 W. I'll divide this side by 0.25, which will cancel out. Divide this side by 0.25, which will give me my whole. Clear the calculator. 3,264 divided by 0.25 will give me 13,056. 13,056. And our textbook says just that. So we got it right. We're going to go ahead and review our Steiner notes, and then we will call this one a lesson. So again, the percent equation is part equals percent times whole. Again, part is represented by P, percent is normally represented by N, whole is represented by W. 3 types of percent equations. So again, you would have part equals percent times whole. In this case, we don't know the percent. In this case, we don't know the part, which means P equals percent times whole. And over here, we don't know our whole, so we have part equals percent times our W for whole. So hopefully this helps for the homework. We are definitely having to use the percent equation and not percent proportion. I know some of us will be tempted to do that. There's only 18 questions on this one. We can look at a few of these just so we can start off. So 25% of 160 is what number? 25% of 160, again, percent's right here. And when you have the of in front of a number, that number is the whole. So the part is missing. P will equal 0.25, because again, percent needs to be turned into a decimal, times 176. For number 2, what is 90% of 20? Again, 90 is our percent. Of 20, 20 would be our whole, so part equals 0.9 times 20. 24 is what percent of 30? We don't have a percent. So 24 is what percent of 30? Of 30 would be, this would be our whole, 24 would be our part. 24 equals n times 30. And then you'd solve from there. And then number 4, 80% of what number is 94? Again, we have our percent of what number, meaning of our whole number. 80 is 94. 94 is our part. We are missing our whole here. So we would do 94 equals 0.8 times W. And that's it for this lesson. If you guys need any help, again, comment section is always open. Otherwise, you guys can message me on Teams, shoot me an email if you're in my class, or ask during class. This is Mr. P, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.